YSK Common word spelling mistakes involving similar but different words. If you're not winning, you're losing, never losing. The things that slow your vehicle down are brakes. Brakes means something is broken. Descending a rock face by sliding down a rope is rappelling, not repelling. To be obedient and conforming is towing the line, not towing the line. A fundamental belief or attitude to your identity, it's deep-seated, not deep-seated. YSK I see this happening a lot and it's important to use the right word s. I'm champing at the bit to hear more. You've piqued my interest, peaked in high school, peeked over onto my notes in class. You breathe by taking breaths. I hate seeing bear with me. No. Shan't. However, if you want me to bear with you, I will happily be patient with you while you explain a complicated situation or problem. Same applies to I can't bear it. Please stop. I see what you there. There are so many words people spell incorrectly and most people aren't happy to receive advice when it comes to their beliefs. I sincerely hope you can find those who will listen. It hurts to type this. Nipping in the bud. Maybe should be common knowledge, but I did receive a work email being told to nip something in the butt, so. Lose drives me crazy because you can sound that one out, triumphant face. No matter how many times I look up the difference in effect and effect, I can never get it right. I just say impact instead. Past and past. Figure it out. This post deserves no addition or is perfect. I also don't know why I see each other and high school written as one word. It's not uncommon. When you've purchased something, you bought it, not brought it. The amount of times I see people say I've just brought this meaning they bought it is way too high. The past tense of the verb lead is led. Not lead. Lead is a metal. It's actually not that hard to use I and me versus I and I correctly. If you are the subject in the sentence it's I, if you're the object it's me. To figure out if you are subject or object, the subject does something, the object has something done with to, for, about, etc. them. Examples. Zai and I are waiting for Z. Z is waiting for Zai and me. Most of the time, it's enough to leave the other person's I out of the sentence to see what would be correct. Edit: the worst thing people write is the thief took all of Zai and I's money. If you are tired of something, you are weary. If you are cautious about something, you are wary. Barely versus barley is my most hated. Someone who isn't wearing clothes is buck naked, not butt naked. If you pedal a bicycle, I hope you work in a bike shop. I pedal mine. It's it is it has. The possessive is its. It's time to go, my horse broke its leg. Same with whose. Whose who is who has, etc. Who's coming with me? Whose car is this? Are you the one whose husband called about the car? Your list is pretty bare. Rogue, not rouge. As in Rogue One, a Star Wars story. You're not wrong there, bud. Your post is appreciated. I could care less when you mean I couldn't care less. For all intensive purposes. Probably won't get seen, but it's just deserts, not desserts. And every time isn't a word. It's two words. These are good tips, but it's kind of a moot point. ETA, it's moot, in case anyone doesn't get with a new sound, like a cow goes moo. Your house has 2 stories. Not stories or even stories. And you pore over a book, rather than pore over. To give advice and to advise someone. Regardless. Irregardless is not a word. Sends me to the moon. Can you be more specific? And not to be pedantic, but I will. Breaks means something is in the process of breaking. Watch those tense shifts, op. You're such a hero. I'm wrapped by this post, not trapped. Should have versus should have. Remember when they used to teach us to spell in school? Happy days. That said, standardized spelling is a relatively new development in English. Oftentimes is spelled oftentimes when it should always be spelled oftentimes. To instead of to and vice versa. Loose instead of lose. The biggest one though is using there, your and your only. We rein things in like a horse, not rein in. Only monarchs do that. Language is fluid and ever-evolving. There is no such thing as a word spelling mistake unless the author unintentionally uses a typo. If there was a right way to use language, the entire human race would speak the same language. Toeing the line means being close to the line, but not over. So you're almost breaking rules. For example, edit I'm wrong. Paid and paid. Nobody wants to hear from the grammar gazpacho. I love that. The reason we should know is that it's because it's important. I was feeling gaslit lately with the amount of people on Reddit spelling it loosing that I thought I was spelling it wrong. I kept reading it as loosing instead of losing too. I'll borrow you a book on grammar. Thanks for letting us know homonyms exist. If everyone understands your meaning by the contacts alone, then what is the issue? Language is about communicating ideals, and if you can get your thoughts across even with minor errors, then what difference does it make? I love deep-seeded because it's like deeply planted, which makes more sense. Not that important. Why is it important to use the right words? Give me one example of these errors creating an unclear meaning or giving the wrong info. I mean, of course it is better to use correct phrases, but it annoys me that YSK is mostly petty shit that bugs someone, not a real you should know. That first one is a typo. I don't think anyone actually means to use loosing. I'm looking for a guy in Knoxville to hunk up and have some fun. Very by. Repelling. I just can be sure which to use. Effect then always get me. Bret Hart appreciates this list. It's risk-averse, not risk-adverse. Bit niche, I know. That moment someone corrects you because their way feels better even though it's wrong. For example, I will loose my keys, it's lose. No, that looks weird, it be loose. Thanks for the sneak peek into your world. Add then to the list. The amount of people who will say better than or more than is ridiculous. I also see people confuse to and to all the time. My most hated one is he's versus his. Joe just went out to check on his car or something similar, especially when you can hear the clear difference in someone's voice as they say it, drives me up the wall. I'm appealing for more word wisdom. My biggest pet peeve is whose and whose. Seems to be the wrong version every time I see either one written. It's a moot point. Bit of a damp squid. People who confuse peak and peak when using peak as an expression of sarcastic condolence. Wherever you go, they're your. It's more grammatically incorrect than a spelling issue, but the use of whenever as opposed to when. A young man on Judge Judy described an incident by saying whenever I wrecked my car, to which Judy replied, you wreck your car often? He said no, so she told him to use when instead, as whenever, as the latter implies doing something or having done something, repeatedly. I hear the same mistake a lot. Oh, and lead is a soft metal. Lead is the past tense of leading. An aisle is an island, not a corridor in a supermarket. That is an aisle. Also, an aisle is what a bride walks down to be married. Off of. Your doctor knows your medication regimen, but doesn't know the how to form a military regiment, unless she is active duty military. I didn't realize the rappelling one. Irregardless, those habits have to be nipped in the butt. Affect is always a verb and effect is always a noun, except if affect is used to define a mood or facial expression, or effect is used to reference a change in state like effect payment. Incorrectly is always spelt incorrectly.